In the summer of 2020, I was introduced to the Terraria Calamity mod community. After years of convincing me to try modded Terraria, my good friend Dorb and I began playing, and I wanted to explore more, so I joined the Calamity mod Discord. I noticed that some people had special roles linked to something called no-hitting, with a document attached explaining what exactly that was. Intrigued and wanting to improve at the game, I decided to try it out. On July 26, 2020, I uploaded my first ever video to YouTube, a King Slime no-hit on Calamity's Revengeance mode, as well as no-hits for Desert Scourge, Eye of Cthulhu, Crabulon, Brain of Cthulhu, and the Eater of Worlds. Then I beat Hive-minded Perforators, uploading those on July 30th and August 1st. With these, I gained access to the Calamity No-Hitter server, beginning my journey to become Terraria's worst no-hitter. So you may be wondering why I would consider myself to be the worst. Starting with those entry no-hits, I broke a major rule during King Slime by using the magic mirror mid-fight. It got verified anyway, because who really cares, it's King Slime. I took many more attempts than normal to beat the Eye, about 82. I was in space for Hive Mind in the start of Crabulon, and I used my beloved Star Cannon on Hive Mind and Perforators, causing the judges a bit of a headache. They both got verified despite this. At least I didn't use the Halibut Cannon. The Star Cannon helps me breeze through Queen Bee and Skeletron on the 1st and 2nd of August. And then there was Slime God. Slime God was a jump in difficulty I did not expect this early into the playthrough. An average no-hitter takes about 20 attempts on Slime God. I took 599 with the Star Cannon, a weapon that supposedly trivializes the fight with how much damage it does. Clearly, it was not trivial to me. Did I mention before that the only playthrough I'd ever done in Calamity at the time was one in multiplayer with the aforementioned Dorb? I knew nothing about the mechanics of these fights. Hell, we never even beat Supreme Calamitus together, let alone me doing it by myself without taking damage. The arena I had built was frankly shit, and I was playing on an old laptop on the verge of death. Despite these factors, I do believe this is a skill issue. And this skill issue only gets worse with the next boss. After that week of constantly struggling on Slime God, I hit a wall. A wall of flesh. It took me 18 days of constant no-hitting to get through the wall of flesh. You want to know how many attempts the average no-hitter takes on wall of flesh? Okay. You want to know how many attempts I took? 1,530. 1,530. And the only reason I got it done in so few attempts is because I downloaded a completely different arena for the last 300 attempts. Until then, I didn't even use an arena. Frankly, I wish I stuck with the crappy strategies because my best attempt without the arena was actually really cool. Either way, I spent 1,530 attempts on a boss widely regarded as one of the easiest to no-hit. For goodness sake, Cataclysmic Armageddon no-hit the boss in a higher difficulty mode with a worse weapon without even being able to see 99% of the fight. At least it got verified. Then I had even more problems in the form of Cryogen. 775 attempts. It didn't take me nearly as long as the wall, but that's still a lot. Shout out to my savior Kern for suggesting Arbalist plus Napalm arrows, much to the dismay of the Judge Omega. This also led to my main claim to fame in the no-hit community at the time, when I screenshotted a certain interaction between Kern and Omega and set it as the thumbnail for my Cryogen no-hit. I decided to use Discord screenshots as Easter eggs in each of my thumbnails from then on, except for Crabulon, becoming known as Thumbnail Man, who terrorized the no-hit community by taking out-of-context screenshots. This later culminated in collaborating with Nicro and Bronze on a video compiling these screenshots on Nicro's channel, linked in the description. Aquatic Scourge took 377 attempts. The Twins, 67. Not bad. For Skeletron Prime, I used the Shellfish Staff to skip multiple phases by attacking the head directly. 182 attempts. Brimstone Elemental took 93. Not bad again. The Destroyer was something else. 199 attempts may not seem like much, but this boss crushed my soul. So I committed a cardinal sin of no-hitting, using the Unicorn mount, and it got verified anyway. Also, I used the Corn Gun. The Corn Gun? Also, I used the Coin Gun. Went back to the RB list for Calamitous Clone with 73 attempts. Then I got to Plantera, and I sold my soul. I used the Halibut Cannon, and I don't regret it. It was fun as hell. 4 fight bullets plus Halibut Cannon plus shitty laptop was the best way to play Calamity, and you can't change my mind. Then I used the Blossom Flux on Leviathan and Nohitter, which took 142 attempts. I find this fight particularly interesting because before I began this playthrough, this boss was named Siren in Leviathan, which changed between my Queen Bee and Skeletron fights. Put that into perspective, I started this playthrough before Rust and Dust. Astrum Aureus was completed on the same day with the same weapon and 168 attempts. Also, I'm using Luxor's Gift. Why am I using Luxor's Gift? Then I melted Golem in 52 attempts. Blossom Flux and Snowman Cannon works very well. And I'm still using the Luxor's Gift. Surely there were better options by then, right? For Peanut Butter Gamer, I used the Halibut Cannon again. 30 attempts. Verified. Continuing the Halibut Cannon train, I took 55 attempts on Duke Fishron. Then I spent 2 days in agony fighting Ravager. 591 attempts. Still Halibut. I hate Ravager. Looking back, I was surprised it only took 2 days, because these nearly 500 attempts took a year off my life. You know how famous artists turn their pain into weird, abstract, and beautiful artworks? In response to my agony from Ravager, I made this. I don't know either. I think the trauma from Ravager actually transformed my brain to create more dumb things, because after this event I started posting very rough around the edges and strange attempts at memes. One of the memes was also a no-hit of Dungeon Guardian. Halibut was broken. Then I did Lunatic in 29 attempts with Briny Baron, and felt better. He uploaded that before the memes, but let's ignore that. Astrum Deus was another worm boss that sucked my soul and took about 316 attempts from my life. It upsets me because Calamity updated one day when I was running no-hit attempts and had to throw out my first success. I used the Tsunami. I began my attempts at the Moon Lord, or as Cataclysmic Armageddon called it, Runaway Simulator. Over a month passes with 699 attempts, and I was still using the Halibut Cannon, which proves the point that just because a weapon is good doesn't mean the fight is invalidated by it. The Moon Lord took an absolute toll on me, creating the largest time gap between no-hits so far in the journey. But it would get worse. After jumping that hurdle, I used the Infinity to take out the Profane Guardians in Hell in only 10 attempts. I truly miss the old Infinity because that insane use time was the main appeal and made the weapon unique. Now it's just a gun that fires a lot of bullets. This fight was really fun, no doubt because of the Infinity, and it was a good change of pace after the month of Moonlord. I used the Infinity once again on Dragon Folly, RIP Bumbleburb, and had less amazing results. It took 13 days to complete, which happened to land on the day of Thanksgiving, with 1,162 attempts, ranking it just behind the Wall of Flesh for attempt numbers so far. I had a lot of problems seeing the projectiles on screen, likely because of the Infinity. If you're watching this, guys, please bring back the old Infinity use time. Please, oh my god, it was so fun. This no-hit got verified early because I was concerned about the DPS. Then came the true challenge. 148 days, 1,614 attempts. The Sword Explosion. That is what it took for me to take down Providence. Throughout my attempts, I discovered a lot of interesting things. For example, you can bounce on Providence using the slime mount, and you can avoid the Icarus's Folly debuff, which shreds your flight time midway through the fight, by being underwater. Except for some reason, the fishbowl doesn't count as underwater for this. Check out these videos where I complain about that. I usually used a water bucket to skip the debuff for most of my attempts, but it made this attack, the one where I just stood still in the successful no-hit, the hardest attack for me to avoid. In retrospect, I probably could have poured water on myself when standing there, but hey, I won the fight anyway. For the Guardian section, I used Stellar Contempt for better single target DPS. I also skipped killing the healer guardian and just out DPS the healing with the sword explosion. I also did a couple meme attempts. For example, this one where I was zoomed in the whole time and got surprisingly far into the fight. Also, I did Ceaseless Cygnus and Stormweaver shortly before Providence to take a break. Only thing really significant was how much I was able to get away with shredding these bosses. Then it was on to Poltergeist, which I took down on the same day using the Divine Retribution. It was a fairly fun fight, despite not being able to see what the projectiles were on the screen clearly. With summer approaching, I thought I would begin to pick up the pace again. Old Duke took 109 days to beat, 1,281 attempts. Less than Wall of Flesh, surprisingly. This motherfucker despawned so many times, I don't know if this is a normal thing anymore. It's probably since been patched, but at the time this was so fucking annoying. I used the Neptune's Bounty and Galileo Gladius. Also, the video got an unprecedented amount of views for a no-hit, especially one from a channel of my size. And wait, I'm just seeing this comment now. Is this referencing fellow no-hitters that GP? Fuck it, I'm starting beef. Then a fucking year goes by. By now, the role in the Calamity Discord has been made legacy, and I missed the cutoff by a couple bosses, which I didn't mind too much because... Oh, and the Exomex got added. But I was still grinding Devourer of Gods, struggling attempt after attempt, and even live streaming a few sessions. After I finally got the boss using the Insidious Impaler, I was relieved. Disqualified. I was incredibly disappointed to see this, but I understand the judge's decision. I've since made my peace with the DQ, but at the time, it burned. I had spent hours and hours running this fight, and to be told I had invalidated the fight made me question everything. At the time, I didn't know about Rule 4, as I mainly focused on MNL and boss-specific rules, which would haunt me again on Exomex, as I had been told midway through attempts to stick to the surface. This defeat, at my own hands, really took a toll on how I viewed myself when no-hitting, so I took a small break, which turned into a large break, which turned into almost a year. Summer of 2023 rolled around and I got back into the server. A new Challenges channel had opened up, and I had participated in a few of them. And I am particularly proud of my involvement in Cat with 2 T's singing collab that stemmed from it, despite not being able to sing well. I started doing attempts for Yeron as well, and after 400 I was successful. To start the fight, I used the Apocalypse to shred Yeron's defense, and let the guard's paranoia finish the job from there. In the top corner I had an image of Johnny Christmas, accompanied with his quote, "Never given up," to keep me going. I even got some very encouraging comments on the video, including one asking me to do it on Inferno. I declined this offer, but appreciated the belief. Coming back was uplifting, but I didn't look forward to the next challenge. Despite all the crap on the screen, my fellow no-hitters taught me that the Exomex are actually incredibly consistent, and I was able to take them down within days of the Yeron upload. I used the Murderous Dragon's Breath under the advice of my fellow no-hitters because that specific modifier makes the weapon enormously better by allowing it to fire 3 shots instead of 2. However, not knowing much about the fight, I completely skipped the second half of Artemis and Apollo's special attack and landed 15 seconds under MNL on my first successful attempt, so I had to redo it. This DQ really didn't hurt that much, and I very quickly redid the fight. Again, this fight is surprisingly consistent. It took about 650 attempts to complete. Once again, I got a comment requesting Infernum. Once again, I declined. After that, I took out the newly required Queen Slime with my foot for a challenge in about 10 attempts using the Poseidon. Then I also took out the Empress of Light in about 25 with the Snowman Cannon. Again, I denied the request to play Infernum. That was the last no-hit I uploaded. Over the next year, I attempted Supreme Calamitas on and off until recently, when Calamity released another update that changed a lot of things. During this time, I realized I wasn't having fun with the fight, especially the bullet hells. With past bosses like Ravager and Moonlord, I pushed through because I knew there would be more bosses ahead, but this is it. Scowl, as of now, is the last one. I get that this is a jump in difficulty, and Scowl will require more commitment than any other boss, but I don't want that anymore. My channel has branched out so much from its no-hit roots that I have other things to do with this YouTube hobby, including making this however long video talking about it. I'll still probably stream no-hit attempts, and hey, maybe someday I'll beat SCal, but right now my heart is not in it. The only thing that got me this far was my perseverance, or it used to be. For now I fear I've disappointed Johnny Christmas and given up. Not totally, but I won't be as committed to no-hitting as I was when I had fun with it. So, if you were waiting for another yearly no-hit this summer, this isn't your year. I'm just not having fun with it anymore, and if that makes me Terraria's worst no-hitter, I'm okay with that. Hey, thank you so much for watching. This video's taken a lot longer than expected, as you can probably tell by the length of my hair. If you want to see more content from me, I make a lot of sketches, a lot of other diverse content. You want to see it. You do. Thank you so much for watching, and if you like what you see, please consider subscribing.